All right, today we're going to do a podcast where we solve PMP questions together. I'm going to read them out to you. I'm going to read the answers one by one. We're going to talk through, cut them up, and make the best decisions together and learn. I'm sure I'll teach a little bit during the path. And also, we have this new little feature that's called the Simulator Genie that's in our simulator that we just rolled out and released, I think, last Friday, that has the ability to analyze the questions as well. And I'll be using that just for fun to see what kind of fun things it pumps out to see if it helps us all out. All right, cool. So I am Scott. I am here to help you. If it's your first podcast, awesome. Glad to have you, dudes and dudettes. We are going to learn PMP together without memorizing. And the big thing, like I guess the first or second podcast that I put out, was all about how we solve questions. It's super duper important. This is worth a couple points on the exam just in solving questions the right way. And you out there who've done a lot of this know what I'm getting ready to say. So say it with me now. We start with the last sentence first, right? We want to know what the finish line is. We want to know what's really asking. Everything else is just contextual to get us to that point. So we start with the end in mind. Let's read it. And then we go back up through the question nice, slowly. And as you practice out loud, won't be able to do it like that on the exam, but you know the deal. And as you go through there, you really want to listen to the question like it's a friend, as I say, so that you can discern what matters, what doesn't matter, and what you would do. Get the feeling of is this a really bad situation? Is this a challenging situation? Is it a people situation? What's going on? If you had to step away and be all right, let me contextualize. That's what we want to look at. All right. So here we go. Let's do this together. All right. So last sentence first. What should the product owner do to address this situation? Well, that doesn't give us a bunch, but it does say who we are. We are the product owner. And if we're the product owner, what neighborhood do we live in? Agile, most likely Scrum in here. That's the way we think. So there's a situation. So we're looking for that situation so we can break it down. All right, we're on the path. Let's go to the top. In a long-term Agile project, I dig it. It's long, it's breathing, I get it. The development team's velocity has been consistently declining over several iterations. So we got a development team. You're the product owner. You're the Steve Jobs. The development team is like Steve Wozniak and all the people that build the Apple products, right? And then what's happening? Their velocity has been consistently, keyword there, declining over several iterations. So it's not a one-time thing, just framing in our brain. It's a getting worse over time thing. So if something that gets worse over time, trending-wise, is due to usually some structural issues and how we're operating, what we're operating, something in the guts is slipping away. All right, let's go. And velocity is our ability to get how much work we're getting out each week on a steady pace. We want a steady velocity. We don't want a meandering down velocity. All right, let's keep going. The team has been struggling to meet their commitments. Obviously, they're getting worse. And the stakeholders have become concerned about the project's progress. Yeah, you'd be concerned if you saw less and less output going. Last sentence. What should the product owner do to address this situation? Now, we as the product owner might have a strong feeling about what would be the cause of this, and we might have a solution in mind. Who knows? Do this, do that, whatever. But in these kind of scenarios, what's the best, most prudent thing to do? Thinking long-term for your team development. Let's think it through. The best thing that you might want to do is start the conversation in a focused way about what's really happening. I've noticed that the velocity seems to be going down. What's up? And not in an accusatory way, but just you're trying to do it. And where would you have this conversation? Well, the perfect place, the event that you would call it, is the retrospective, right? Sprint retrospective, which happens every 2 weeks or the end of every sprint. And then you'd have that conversation. And you open up the doors. And really, for the long-term betterment of your team, you want them to be transparent in how they communicate. You want to share all the bugs and the issues and all the whatevers they're feeling with so that we collectively can work through it. That builds the skills, right? It builds resiliency as we go through. So that's what I would say. Now let's go to A. All right. A was increase the team's commitment for each iteration to achieve a higher velocity. What does that mean in real people talk? Increase the team's commitment means give them more work. Now, first of all, product owner does not just hand the work or push the work on them. It's got to be a collaborative thing where the developers bring it in. So if they're having problems, they're achieving less and less and less, and we say, hey, the way to solve it is to throw more at them, we're going to make it worse. So I'm going to say a strong no. And as we solve questions, you can't be scared to cross things out, but you also can't be willy-nilly about it. So we did detailed analysis of that, and it just didn't fit our approach. So I'm willing to cut it out. So B, reassign some stories, some user stories, to another team with a higher velocity to ensure timely delivery. Now, usually we have one team working on a product. We could scale, like if we got to get bigger, we got to have more than one team. But would it help the long-term success of the team to say, hey, I'll take some of your stories, you guys just work on less, and I'll give it to somebody else? Now, ultimately, probably not, because we don't understand what's causing the ship to have a hole in it currently, little hole as it may be. So we need to address that. Now, one of the solutions may be that they are not maintaining good whip limits. They're not doing those kind of things. They're biting off more than they can chew. They're worn out. Who knows? But just doing that without root cause, bad. So let's cross another one out. C, collaborate with the Scrum Master and development team to identify the reasons for declining velocity and address the underlying issues. Yeah, and as you go, you might say, Scott, I would have jumped there right off the bat. Well, what I don't want you to do is go from the question to the answer, easy peasy jump, because a lot of times you'll miss the context and you'll end up bouncing around. So we love that. We're going to fall in like, not love right now, because the other one might be even better. All right. And how about D? Increase the project scope to account for decreased velocity and maintain the original timeline. Like, increase the project scope. That's another one that says give them more work just so you can get more out. Another answer that they may put in there is extend the sprint length, or add people to the sprint, right? Those kind of things. All those things may appear to do better, but really, we've got to find out what the root cause is. I'd get into the retrospective, like we said, and talk it through and see if we can unearth it. There's probably some technical debt that we're dealing with. Maybe the people are overwhelmed. Maybe they need a little, mix up in what they're doing. They get a little behind the, they're not enthusiastic. Who knows what's happening? But let's talk it out. All right, so let's check the answer. Boom, we got it right. Super duper. Awesome. And as we go to the next question, this one we'll find one and we'll use the Simulator Genie as we go. All right, so this is another short one. As we go, last sentence. What should be done in response to the customer's request? Okay, what should be done in response to the customer's request? So we got to figure out what the customer wants. Now, a customer, going to the top, requests a change in the technical approach for a product currently in development. So let's break that down. First of all, I'm reading slow. You should read slow, okay? A customer, what do they request? A change. What's the change in? Is it a new feature? Is it a new something else? Well, they're specific about it. A technical approach. What's a technical approach? It's a way of building something, right? So they're walking up and say, oh, you could structure that in this way, build it this way. Is it something that's way in the distance, or is it, we're hot and heavy right now? It says for a product currently in development. So we're building this thing and they say, hey, I think you should build this technical approach. Now, request the change. Are they mandating? Is it contractual? Is it, something by the government? I don't know. It doesn't feel like it. It's like, hey, I think you should build it this way. Okay. They said the project manager learns about this request during a reoccurring project review meeting. What should be done in response to the customer's request? Now, is this Agile? Is it Waterfall? I don't really know totally. It does feel like it's more, if it's not a change request, then it's more Agile-y. Maybe it's hybrid as we go through here. They do say project manager, but here's the thing with PMI and project manager. They're going to throw project manager in there for Scrum Master like 100% of the time. Do I love it? No, but I do love PMI. So I'm cool with them doing it because, whatever. Don't bite the hand, in a sense. So like they mean just a facilitator, a guide, a helper, all right? And so what should the Scrum Master do, the project manager do when you learn about this request during a review? All right. So what you should probably do is think about, do you specifically have the ability to make that change as the project manager in an Agile or hybrid project? Maybe, maybe not. I don't think you do. Now, before I go and pontificate, I'm going to say with the Simulator Genie, there's 5 little bubbles. There's what's the question really asking? Another one, what's the trap in this question? The next one's explain it to me like I'm 5. The next one's what's the key lesson to remember? The last one is explain and make me laugh. All right. So I'm going to pick what's the trap in this question. And we'll just see what happens. I'll just read what comes out. All right. So this has been listening to me for years. And then we've programmed this chatbot to think, and it takes a teensy bit of time. But as we go out here, okay, let me see what it says the trap here. And this is, high wire. I'm doing live. We'll see what happened. It says, in this question, the trap lies in misinterpreting the role of the project manager and the importance of following proper change control procedures. Here's how you can think through the options. All right, cool. Discuss the pros and cons. it goes through the options as we think. So we're going to hold on this and we'll go to each one. So option A is discuss the pros and cons of the, what is it? I got to click out. Of the proposed approach with the stakeholders, then select, you as the project manager, the approach that is best fit for the team and notify the team members. So what does the AI chatbot say? This seems reasonable, but assumes that a decision is made based on informal discussions, potentially bypassing formal change control. So even if it's waterfall, even if it's agile, it seems like this is a kind of offhand. That's a little context from me. The project manager should not make unilateral decisions in this scenario. Incorrect, because it ignores formal change procedures. And even if it's agile, it goes through the product owner like as a feature request, but how we build things. So this isn't a feature request. This is a how we structurally build things. That goes through the devs, right? So as we go through the devs, okay? All right. As we go through here, okay? Now, all right, here's number 2. Have the team, meaning the development team, decide on the appropriate approach, giving them authority to implement their decision and validate the decision in talks with the stakeholders. All right, now let's look at that and let's see what the Genie says. Like the Genie says, and I'm reading, this option empowers the team, involving them in assessing the change. That's a good thing, right? It emphasizes team ownership and validation of the approach with the stakeholder, which aligns with adaptive planning. That's good. This is correct since it promotes team involvement and aligns with the Agile principles. I like that. Good job, Sam. Genie has been listening to me for a while. That's awesome. And so I like that because really at what we said here is this is not a what we need to do. That would go to the product owner. The devs, and kind of bringing in the product owner just to validate later maybe, but mostly devs need to say, hey, this is how we're going to construct things. We'll take what they said into advisement. It might be the smartest thing in the world the customer's ever told us, or it might be just not exactly right because they're not building everything together. So we love B, like B. We're going to like it. Remember, fall in like, not love. And then C, it says, in order to obtain Scrum Master buy-in, have the team benchmark the approach. So, I mean, they say project manager and Scrum Master. If it's hybrid, there might be all these different roles. Don't get confused. It's just saying that the developers don't need to be involved. It's more of like a Scrum Master is going to make the decision. And you know that's not right. Let's see what the Genie says. This approach incorrectly prioritizes the specific roles buy-in, Scrum Master, which might not be necessarily in the broader change control context. I can't read well, you know that, but it's basically saying wrong person to make the decision. Benchmarking may help. Hey, has this worked in other environments, right? But they aren't directly necessary to decide the course of action or fulfill the request. Incorrect due to misguided focus. Yeah, I like what they said. That's kind of what I said. They just said it in a tighter way. And the last one, work with the team to immediately implement the new approach. Immediately, unless it's like we're having something that's structurally, challenging the success of the project, the features of the project, safety, health, something like that. That's immediately escalate. But this isn't the scenario. They just want to build it differently. So let's see what the Genie says. Work with a team member to immediately implement the new approach. This option neglects formal change management processes by skipping assessment and stakeholder validation. It could lead to issues if the change isn't thoroughly evaluated or approved. Yeah. Incorrect because it bypasses necessary procedures and assessment. Yeah, the key trap is thinking the immediate action or informal decision suffice when structured change management process should guide the decision, especially in agile context where team empowerment and stakeholder involvement are crucial. All right, I can dig it. So when it comes between me and the Genie, we got you covered. How we learn from this? If it's the technical approach, let's go with how we're going to build it. Think devs. What we need to build, go product owner. So we'll check the answer. We know it's right. We've beat this thing down. And bam, we got another one right. Let's do more. And let's do one more. And this time we're going to double gamble, dude. We're going to hit explain and make me laugh. All right, cool. Let's see what happens. All right, last sentence. What action should the Scrum Master take in this situation? All right, so we got Scrum Master. We know we're Scrum, right? Agile. We know there's a situation. We don't know what the deal is. During a backlog refinement session, all right, so who's going to be in that? Led by the product owner, probably have some stakeholders in there, subject matter experts, customer, whomever. Product owner can bring in whoever they need. Scrum Master sitting in the corner drinking coffee. The development team, so cool, and the product owner, so they could be, I didn't look ahead, right? that, you can definitely bring your development team in for little snippets of backlog refinement because you need their insights, their help. They've been in the sausage with you. The dev team and the product owner are in disagreement, okay, over the level of detail required for the user stories. That's good. Let's get that conversation out. We need it. The product owner feels that the description should be succinct, while the team feels they need more detailed criteria. All right, so you as a Scrum Master drinking coffee, put your coffee cup down for a second. Where do you think the right kind of neighborhood is? This product owner is like, yeah, it's succinct, it's clear, it's clean, it's written in user story format. That should be good enough for you. Or the team that's like, yo, I need more. All right, we don't know how deep, but they say they need more. The two groups seem to be at odds on what to do next. Last sentence. What should the Scrum Master take? What action should the Scrum Master take in this situation? So we're going to hit the make me laugh, explain and make me laugh button. Obviously, you don't have to use it. You can use the hints, the glossary. You can use your own mind, all these things. But we're just having fun here, you and me. And so that while that's cranking away, think about what you would do if you're Scrum Master in the room. What would you do? Who would you go with? All right, so I'm going to read this. This is always gambling, but let's do it together. The genie says, the classic tale of a good old backlog refinement session turned into soap opera. On one side, we have the product owner, the gatekeeper of succinct, wielding brevity like it's Excalibur. I don't know if it's making me laugh yet, but it's painting a story cool. On the other hand, the development team, thirsty for details like it's the only oasis in the desert of ambiguity. So you see both sides. And smack in the middle, our valiant hero, the Scrum Master. What should the Scrum Master do? Here's a scoop. Our noble guide, the Scrum Master, needs to challenge the channel the inner diplomat, preferably with a touch of Gandalf level wizardry. Okay, I can dig. You almost made me smile. The situation isn't taking sides like it's a playground dispute. We're not in kindergarten here, folks. It's all about facilitating a discussion that dives into the nitty gritty. We're talking about deep dive, like Jacques Cousteau would do in the depths of the ocean. All right, it's being fun with its language. Now let's toss the other options into the trash compactor, shall we? So we'll go through the things in there. So we know that funny little thing said, get a discussion going. It's not that one's right and it's wrong. It's what needs to happen to get good development built. That's the game that you're playing as a Scrum Master. You know that. So A, it says, Scrum Master should advocate for the development team's perspective since they are responsible for delivery. Well, I mean, they are, right? So shouldn't the Scrum Master push for them? Well, what they say, unless you want the product owner sharpening the pitchforks, I'd pass. Well, I mean, kind of funny a little bit, but basically you want common understanding because the product owner lines it up, the devs line, knock it down. We want that conversation to happen. You don't want to necessarily just have it in the sprint planning session. We're getting a method here, the depth that we need to develop things. B, side with the product owner. Since they have the final say on product backlog items. They do. But here's what the funny machine says. That'll go over like a lead balloon with the team tasked with delivery. Yeah, what they're saying is like, hey, dude, it's got to be together. It's not just like big boss said this. It's like, how do we deliver in challenging times in a good way? Now, the third one, see, is facilitate a discussion between the development team and the product owner to find a middle ground and understand the need for clarity. And so that's a really great one, right? This is correct, right? Because it's all about collaboration, not compromise. We need to understand, like, okay, so developers, what details do you need? How's it going to help you? In what format do you need to see it? Let's talk it through so that the product owner can go, oh, okay, I get it. So that we're not just providing, I'll fill your bucket up through the top of the roof. No, what do they need? How do they need it? What will it help them do? Because the product owner wants their stuff. The devs want to give them their stuff. They need to talk it out. All right. And so to finish out, the funny thing, it says, the correct answer, it's all about collaboration, understanding needs, and little change thing called compromise. I don't like the compromise. I like the coming together thing. Because the grand theater of project management madness, the best show runs on dialogue and clarity. I like that. Bravo, Scrum Master, bravo. Okay, so funniest thing in the world? No, but pretty funny, right? Brings it to it. And then the last answer was suggesting an internal audit. Suggest an external audit of the backlog items for partial perspective. I mean, dude, that's terrible. I mean, come on. This is what the machine says. We might as well call in Sherlock Holmes while you're at it. Yeah. I don't like that because we need to deal with these people. It's a partnership with the product owner and the developers, and you as a Scrum Master are elevating everybody. All right. So pretty good. Let's pick that facilitated discussion answer and go from there. So that's awesome. How long have we been going for? 20 minutes. You want to do one more? Let's do one more. All right. All right. Here we go. The team, It's like the team is discussing this issue. What is the most appropriate action that the team should take? So it's a little cryptic in there. Let's go back to the top. A team is using a Kanban methodology. They notice that there's a consistent bottleneck in the testing process. As a result, the developers focused on the development step, the developers that are focused on the development step are unable to take on more series or more stories as they wait for testing to be complete. The team is discussing the issue. What's the most appropriate action the team should take? So what's happening here? Well, normally when we talk about Agile, we think about Scrum. This one, it says they're using Kanban methodology. So what the heck is that? Well, if you think about a Kanban board, you know what a Kanban board is, most likely. It's a work visualization board, right? Think of like columns, and then each column is a step in the process. And, as the work flows, you move your card, little sticky thingy, from column to column. And why do you do that? To visualize all the work that's currently underway, what its status is, and honestly, to tell you where things are gumming up and stopping. And there's a blocked column as well, usually to the right, that says, whoa, fire alarm, fire, we need help. So that's what we're doing here. A Kanban methodology is it's an overall framework that people use, and it's great. It's like continuous flow versus working in sprints. So while we don't have sprints or stopping points per, time box predefined, we just line everything up and keep it organized in the most left column. It would be essentially, in Scrum, it would be the sprint backlog. And then the product owner does that, and then teams methodically move work across. Now, what's super important in Scrum or Kanban is that for each column, each work station or step, that we set WIP limits. You know what WIP limits are, right? Work in progress limits. And why is that important? It's because if we take on work, which it's much more fun to start a job than finish a job, then we're going to have a lot of things kind of spinning plates, but nothing finishing. And we don't want that. We want to stop starting and start finishing. And so what's happening here? Team using Kanban, cool. Notices there's a consistent bottleneck in the testing process. As a result, the developers focus on development. So that's downstream, upstream, if you will. They develop, then they test, right? They're unable to take on more stories. Now, what does that tell you? It seems like that they're doing WIP limits, which is good, all right? And so, because otherwise the team would just take on more work. So it seems like they're sticking to their gun saying, like, I can't take on more work until the things downstream pull the work in and clear my kind of table, right? Because there's no reason pushing it down the stream. Think of like an artificial constraint. Like you can't force it into the next column, okay? So that's a good thing. So what would we do? We're just going to go a cappella. We're not going to go with the funny thing. We'll do that later. I think that we should dive in and see like what's holding us back. Where is the gum up? Is it that the two columns, the two steps there's different amount of capacity and flow through them? Or is it that maybe they're having technical issues where the blockage is, or that they are, not skilled? Maybe they're down a person or two. Who knows? We got to go look, ask, strategize, collaborate. That's the things we got to do. So if we go to A, it says postpone new develop until testing phase clears out. So it's like, hey, developers, go chill out, go do something else. When it clears out, you can go to work. Now, does that help us understand? Does it help us develop? Does it help us improve? No. So we don't want to do that. Now, the next one, remove the WIP limits altogether to allow smoother flow. So it's like, hey, just keep pumping out jobs, keep loading it on the next phase, and you'll be all right. No, that's bad because we haven't addressed it, right? And it's just going to make the testing even worse because they're going to be like up to their roof in jobs. Not good. The next one, increase the WIP limits for testing only to handle more items. Now, it's not the WIP limits that are holding us back. It's their ability to process jobs. So I don't want to increase WIP limits. I want to find out what the deal is and then try to help it. And so A is encourage developers to assist testers to alleviate the bottleneck. Now, is that what we thought was going to be there? No. We thought it was going to be root cause, develop a solution, do something there. Awesome. That's what I thought was going to be there. And then what was actually there is encourage developers to assist testers to alleviate bottlenecks. Now, is that applicable? Is it reasonable? Is it against the law? No, it's reasonable. That's okay. Think about like downstream. If you just built something, is it like, oh, terrible to like help test it? No, because you are actually in the sauce building it. So you know what's going on. You can work through it. And like, think of it like if you're stuck at your workstation because like you can't move anything downstream, you can kind of assist and help. we still need to understand what's going on down phase, right? Downstream. But a lot of times you will lean over, if you will, help them out, get that done, makes it a more robust kind of like pair programming kind of thing, get it moving, and then go back to building. And then if that's the kind of relationship that we have to keep things flowing, so shall it be. Now, we might want to add capacity later to testing or move a little bit of the testing upstream to the working to balance the load. But right now, let's be proactive. Let's not sit on our hands. Let's not just go drink long cups of coffee, right? Let's get in there and let's help downstream to clear the blockage and get things moving. So that's really awesome. So just for fun, what's the key lesson to remember? We'll click that one in the Genie and just see what it says while we're here together. Then we'll go off. I went 25 minutes today. I've had fun talking to you. What I want you to understand as we go through this is there's a conversation. I'm not just talking out just for the sake of it. This is how it's going in my brain, and the more you do. And you should do that too. So the Simulator Genie says, key lesson. In managing bottlenecks with Kanban methodology, the focus is on achieving smoother flow of work rather than increasing the workload. That is true. That's what we talked about. Here's a breakdown of the thought process. Number one is identify the bottleneck. That's what you're always going to do in Kanban, right? That's the only way you can speed it up. The issue is with the testing process. It can't handle the current demand, causing a backup. Cool. It's like a, river or something like that with, like a dam in it or whatever. I was thinking of those little dudes that chop down trees with their teeth. Why can I not remember what they are? Two is understand Kanban principles. Kanban emphasizes visualizing workflows, with a board, limiting WIP, and enhancing continuous improvement. Let's get better. Increasing WIP or removing WIPs could overwhelm the testing phase and lead to lower efficiency and quality. It would be anti what we're trying to do. Thus, these options are incorrect. The appropriate action, the suggested correct action is to redistribute resources by encouraging other team members, such as developers, to help alleviate the bottleneck. This supports more collaborative and efficient workflow. And as we could have, there's nothing against having retrospectives. We could say bang, bang, bang at certain little things. We're looking back and saying, how can we get better? Would they call them retrospectives? I don't know, maybe. Or they could just call them continuous improvement events, whatever. Little things over time. And as we work together, we may find strategies to implement and make things better. The fourth one is avoiding inflexible solutions. Removing WIPs, limits, or increasing them does not address the root cause. Postponing development can distribute the work or disrupt the workflow and impact projects negatively. Summary. The key takeaway is to tackle bottlenecks by optimizing resource allocation and sticking to Kanban principles of WIP limits. This approach helps maintain a steady flow of work, improving overall team productivity, ensuring bottlenecks are more effectively managed. So pretty darn good. My whole goal with the simulator, my whole goal today is talk through questions, get you in that conversational way of solving questions so that the more fluid you get in doing it, and initially you'll be I don't know the words to say, I'm just talking, you'll get better and better and better, okay? Does it need to go through 26 minutes to go through 4 questions? No, I'm, talking to you, talking to the machine, talking to everybody, whatever. But I want you that conversational tone. That's the way it goes. And then also, I think it was kind of fun to use the Genie because we got we can look at the hints. We can look at the explanation for the answers. We got the answer video. We got the related videos. Then we got the Genie because I could write in there, dude, I still don't understand. And it would explain it to me more. So if you're interested in the Genie, reach out to me. I'm really proud of what the guys put together here. And it's fun. So reach out to me if you need help. I'd love to talk to you. People write me or call me every day, 757-759-5282. Talk to you soon. Great job. Adios. Bye.